What's happening, YouTube? On today's video, we're going to be looking at the Special Edition Fender Telecaster Flame Maple Top HH. I don't know what the HH stands for. In my opinion, this is a guitar that I think deserves the title of Jack of all trades, master of some. It is a really good guitar for the price point, and I think for any sort of like intermediate budding musician who's going to go to a jam, you don't really know what's going to happen. You might be playing some punk, some rock, some heavy metal even, tapping like Van Halen. This guitar can kind of do all that stuff in a really good way that's going to sound good in a jam setting. The reason why I call it the master of some is because there are some genres you are probably not going to want to play with this. I think this guitar has a nice fat sound. It's got a lot of punch to it, but when you try to go for the real clean tones, it does tend to sound a little thin, especially when you're coil split. Now, with the humbuckers engaged, it's a little different. You're not going to find that telly twang with the humbuckers. You're also not going to get that Les Paul chime, if you will, with the humbuckers engaged. So this thing is kind of its own beast. And hopefully the audio comes through well enough. You can hear this properly to kind of get what I'm saying. But really, I think the best thing you could do if you are interested in this guitar is to actually pick it up and play it and listen to it through your own setup. Because as you may or may not know, every guitar is going to sound different depending on what kind of amp it's being played through, what your signal chain looks like, how many pedals you got pedaling, that sort of thing. So without further ado, let's get down to the tones. We're going to go straight clean tones first, and then we'll mess around with some other stuff, adding some boost, some gain, some reverb, and have ourselves a great time. All right, let's start on the neck pickup here, and just hit a couple power chords. So you can hear there's a very sweet sound to it. But like I said, minus that kind of Les Paul chime. But when you start playing, I think it sounds pretty good. Let's go over to both pickups selected. Same riff, do slow power chords. So I don't know if you can hear that on the video, but it comes through a little plucky if you don't have some kind of compressor pedal to squish down that sound a little bit, especially when you're on both pickups selected. I don't know if that's them trying to kind of get a little bit more of that Telecaster twang in there, which to each their own. You might like that, you might not. I'll shut up. Let's go now to the neck pickup. Same deal. Now we're going to go through the same way coil split, so you can kind of hear the difference. So we are back to the neck pickup. This is where I like, as I told you at the start of this video, it tends to start sounding a little thin. I can crank the volume all the way. You get a little bit of the telly twang, but it just kind of sounds like it's falling flat. Now, both pickups selected. So that's what I mean, where it kind of starts to just get flat. I don't know how else to describe it. And I don't mean this in a way to like hate on this guitar. I just think clean tones aren't really its jam. Or maybe I'm just not a great guitar player. I don't know. But let's go to the bridge pickup. Now we're going to move on to the part of this video where I think I'll kind of show off where this guitar actually does really well. And that's in the genre of like riff rock and like heavier stuff. Honestly, I feel like this is the Telecaster that Jimmy Page probably would have wanted Fender to make him, but they wouldn't, so he ended up picking up a Les Paul. This straight through neck and these dual humbuckers, I think, have all the heat that you would possibly need. These pearly gates are fantastic. And they give you that awesome, just hard driving rock and roll sound. So I'm gonna blow my ears out. That was the bridge. Both pickups selected. And finally, neck pickup. So you can hear how it starts to get a little muddy in there, especially as you really start like yamming on it, but like the dirt, I guess, is sometimes what you want. Do some more noodling, a little more distortion. I'm on the neck pickup here. Let's hit that on both pickups selected. And then finally, the bridge selected. So my overall impressions on this guitar, as I've kind of hinted at throughout the video, first and foremost, I think the craftsmanship is fantastic. With the exception of the fretboard, it's needed a lot of adjusting when I first got it, but once I messed with the truss rod, leveled the frets a little bit, after that, it was a lot better, and the intonation is a whole lot better. Out of the box, I would give this like a 7.5 out of 10 in terms of playability. And in terms of setup and all that. But if you have it professionally set up, it's going to play great. It's going to feel great. The neck is super duper comfortable for doing sorts of like shredding stuff. I'm not a shredder, but it's got a real thin neck and it is a fast neck, and you have great access here to the upper frets. No trouble whatsoever hitting these up here. That heel on what would be a neck joint, but it's a straight through design. That heel there doesn't really get in the way of your hand, so you have access to all this, which is great. Very comfortable to just strum around on, very comfortable to move around the fretboard on. If I was keeping this guitar, and I'm not, I'm selling it just because it's unfortunately not really my speed, I would definitely sand the back of the neck. I like the feel of nitro or a nice satin sort of neck. This is a gloss, and I think it tends to accumulate fingerprints and finger moisture and all sorts of gross stuff on it pretty quickly. And then it starts to get like a little gummy in places. That's gross. It starts to get a little frictiony in places and not as smooth as it probably should be. So maybe that's a modification you can make. Also, just some little things in terms of quality control. A lot of the hardware on this has started to patina, but you know, some people like that and some people don't. It is made overseas, and I think for an overseas guitar, it's actually set up pretty well and cut really well, and the quality control is pretty darn good. Like I said, with the exception of the fretboard, I think that's what needed the most attention when I first got it. I also picked this up used, so I don't really know what was or wasn't done to it. All my gear is used or like demo gear, because that's just how I roll. But I think with a good setup and a good polish, it is a very playable, very comfortable guitar for a guitarist of almost any level can appreciate this with some minor modifications. The sound itself is good. As I said at the start of the video, it's going to do a lot of stuff very well. The setup of the guitar overall is good. With a professional setup, it's going to feel great. So thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, subscribe, talk to me. What do you think about this? I'm actually really curious. Could you guys really hear a huge difference as we went through and did all those tones? And do you think the humbuckers here are absolute blasphemy on a Telecaster? Or do you think Fender's moving in the right direction with that and giving players a little bit more avenues to go along sonically and tonally? So until next time, you all have a good one. Keep on rocking and rolling.